Thank you for watching Moving Up, planning for your child's successful transition at age 3. So what are we going to learn today? We're going to talk about the law and some of the general topics around transition. We're going to talk about keys to successful transitions and the planning around that. We're going to talk about an introduction to Part B of the special education law, options to consider when your child turns 3 and some of the areas that you may want your child to transition in, and who you can call if you have questions or concerns concerning your child's transition. What does transition mean? Well, transition basically is change, and we all have transitions in our lifetime. There's no way you can avoid having transitions. It can mean getting married or getting divorced. It can mean moving to a new town. It can mean having a baby, going from one country to another, going from high school to college to technical school, out into the workforce, from being a stay-at-home mom going back into the workforce, or coming from the workforce to be a stay-at-home dad. We all have transitions in our lifetime. There's no way that we can avoid having transitions. So today we're talking about, though, transitioning your child from Babies Can't Wait, the birth to 3 portion of the special education law, to Part B, or to another service once your child turns 3. Let's start by talking about IDEA and what that means. IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This is the law that governs special education in all of the states in the United States. It's broken down into different parts. Part C, or the birth to 3 portion of IDEA, is the part of the law that governs early intervention. In the state of Georgia, early intervention is implemented by the Georgia Department of Public Health. It's called Babies Can't Wait in the state of Georgia. It's early intervention at the federal level, though. And did you know that the Part B of IDEA is the part of the law that addresses the special education from children ages 3 to 22 years of age? In the state of Georgia, it is implemented by the Georgia Department of Education, Division for Special Education Services. Both Part C and Part B have specific information that relates to transition. Young children who are leaving early intervention go into other services or into the special education services, and once you transition out of Part B, you'll either be going into another school system or another school setting, or you may be going into the workforce. So both of these parts of the law discuss transition. But today we're going to talk about what IDEA says about transition as it relates to transitioning from early intervention into other services, and how you as a parent can be best prepared for that transition for your child. As a parent, you can request copies of the federal law, the federal regulations, the Babies Can't Wait regulations, and how the law is implemented in the state of Georgia. So what does IDEA say about transition? Well, Part C requires that every child and family have a transition conference or a transition meeting. This is your meeting. It is a time for you to learn about other services that are available for your child in your particular community. Don't forget, it's your meeting. You don't have to make any decisions about what you're going to be doing with your child at that particular time. It's only there. This meeting is only held for you to hear options about what is available in your area when your child turns 3. Part C requires that every child have a transition plan. Again, this is your plan and should include the steps that each IEP team member will need to take in order for your child to have a smooth transition from Babies Can't Wait into the school system if you so choose. It's important that you start writing down your ideas, your thoughts, and your goals for your child so that you can take it with you to every meeting to help you refer to so you don't forget some of the things that you need to talk about. Later in this talk, we're going to talk about the transition meeting and who may attend, what you can expect in such a meeting, and how to prepare for it. Next, we're going to talk about keys to successful transition for young children, and especially young children with special needs. We are going to help you know what you need to do in order to be prepared for your child's transition and to help your hopes and dreams be realized. So, what are the keys to good transitions? Well, a lot of research has been done on this particular topic, and think about these keys as things that family needs to do ahead of time in order to be prepared so that the child can have a smooth transition. And it is important for a child to have a smooth transition because, number one, you don't want to have a disruption in your child's schedule, nor do you want your child to have a breaks in service if that's at all possible. That's some of the things that we can do. Some of the things that we can do to assure this is to be prepared for the child's transition. So, key one to transition planning, of course, is planning. Pre-planning for this meeting. So, what do you need to do to pre-plan for your child's transition meeting? Well, you need to write down some of the things that you want for your child. How do I want my child to play? Where do I want my child to play, and who do I want them to play with, and who do I want them to learn with? Where would my child be at age 3 if they were a typically developing child and didn't have a disability or a developmental delay? Where do other young children in my community live and learn and play? What do they do at age 3? What does my child need for supports to learn, to grow, and develop? And what do I hope for my child? Where do I want to see my child be? These are the things that you need to write down, and also your thoughts on these types of things. What are some other things that you might need to do to help your child plan for transition? Well, one of the things you might need to do is to sit down and talk with your child about a transition, that they're actually going to be going from one particular program into another. And this program will probably look quite different than the early intervention services that they've received in the past. You will talk to your child about the new setting or program. If there's any books to read about school or preschool, that would be a good thing maybe to check out at your local library or to go to the store and look for. If you can't find anything about that, make up stories about going to school. If your child has never been around other children, this would be a good time for you to provide opportunities for your child to play around other children and to get to be comfortable being in the same area with children their own age. If you've never been separated from your child, might be a good time for you to talk with a trusted adult that you know, a friend or family member, to get them to babysit for you so that you can go out for a while and come back, so that your child understands that when you leave them, they will be coming back, so that you will be coming back, so that when you leave them at school, they know that they can expect you to come back at a certain time. So, is there any other ideas that you might think of along this line to prepare your child for this transition activity? Another area that you might think about is, what questions may I ask the program that I'm intending my child to transition into? Such as, can my child visit the new program with me? If there's transportation involved, can my child take a trial run on a school bus? How does the teacher prefer to communicate with me? Are there certain times that I can call? Are there certain days that I can visit? Are there activities for the family at this new program? Do they have family days? Do they have parent days? Those type of things. Can my child bring a favorite toy or a comforting item with them to the new school setting, to the new setting that the child's about to go in? Those are type things that you might want to write down so that you can remember to ask. And there's probably other questions you may have too. The second key we want to talk about is communication and participation. Remember that this transition meeting or conference, whatever you would like to call it, is for you to learn about programs in your community and in your area. If you should have already been talking about this with your service coordinator in Babies Can't Wait. If not, you need to sit down with them and talk with them about some of the things in your community. If they do not bring up any or bring up some that you already know about, you may want to mention them to your service coordinator so that they can help you find out more information about those. If you are considering the school system, a representative from the school system should be invited to your transition meeting. This is the responsibility of Babies Can't Wait. So you need to let them know that yes, you want the school system to come so that they can invite them in plenty of time so that they can put that on their schedule. Some of the things that you may want to ask the school system during the transition meeting is, how will my child be determined eligible for special education services? What will occur during my child's evaluation and why? Will I be able to attend, or another family member be able to attend while my child is being evaluated? Well, who do I call if I have any questions? What are some of the ways? What are some of the different ways that services may be provided for my child? And if you choose for your child to attend a preschool instead of special education services, or if you choose for them to attend Head Start, how will special education services be provided for my child who attends a preschool setting? Will they need to go to the school, or will the school come to them to provide the services for them? Make sure that if you think that your child will not be eligible for the preschool's special education program, that you certainly invite other programs to be present during your transition meeting. It's so important that you understand that it is totally necessary for you to be involved with the preschool education program if that's where your child needs to be. Let's assume that your child will have at least one IEP meeting a year for the years of his educational life. That means that they're going to have probably at least 19 IEP meetings until they graduate from high school. So now is the time for you to become prepared and for you to learn how to become an integral part of that IEP team. What can you do to be prepared? Well, one of the things you can do is make sure you always have that notebook with you. Write down your ideas, your questions, your goals, your hopes and dreams for your child, and always have it with you or take it with you when you go to the IEP meetings. Another thing is, speak up at the meetings. Don't be passive and quiet. Don't be intimidated. Let them know what you're thinking. These meetings can be scary, but it is your responsibility, it is your job to be your best advocate for your child, to be the voice of your child during those meetings. If you would feel more comfortable having someone come with you, you certainly can invite a friend or another family member to come with you. Let the school know that you're going to do that, and that person can help you remember some of the things that you wanted to ask during the meeting. Sometimes it's a lot easier for you to be confident and speak up when you've got someone that you know in the room with you. Key 3, shared information and trust. With parental consent, IDEA requires that Babies Can't Wait share information with your local school system. That includes notes, evaluation and assessment information, therapist visits, that kind of thing. The law requires this to help ensure the continuation of services for each child from one program to another. you say to yourself, well, why would the school system need this if they're going to evaluate my child on their own? Well, it'll help the school system understand your child's strengths and needs better. It will help them as they prepare to evaluate your child. They can see how your child maybe has reacted in the past, and it will help them be better prepared for that. Some parents feel a little, they feel concerned about this. They may not want to share this information for one reason or another. They may feel that their child is going to be labeled. They don't want their child to be labeled at such a young age. And this really comes out of distrust and fear. And my best answer to that is for you to sit down with your local school system and talk with them about that. Especially if you've heard negative things about your school system. Talk to them about it. Let them know how you feel so that you and they can have a conversation about that before your child enters the school system. It is absolutely, however, I want to emphasize that it is your decision whether or not you share this information with the school system. You have to sign a written consent for Babies Can't Wait to share anything with the school system. So if you choose not to, then Babies Can't Wait will not share. However, think carefully about your decision, because if you want your child to get services through the school system, that information can help them make better decisions when it comes to your child's plan. And you do want them to know how your child learns and what's best for him or her during this time. Just as you should be willing or may be willing to share information with the school system, they should be open and willing to share information with you. They need to be able to share their processes with you, how they do things. You need to ask for copies of the information they have. You need to see this as their role of educating you about their programs. And we'll talk a little bit more about this a little later on, about transitioning to into the school system. The fourth key we'll talk about today is empowered parents. Well, what does empowerment mean? It refers to increasing the strength of individuals and communities. And basically it means having a confidence in your own capacity. Now, how do you become confident in your own capacity? Well, one way to do that is to understand the information that you need to know and to be prepared in whatever you're about to do. It means being certain that a chosen course of action is the best or most effective given the circumstances and given what you know at the time. So, what will it take to help you feel empowered as a parent, to help you feel confident in your ability to advocate for your child? Well, one of the things is that you need to have a good grasp on the IDEA, have information about it, know where you can get that information. You need to learn about the transition requirements, which we're talking about today, and learn about the programs that you are considering for your child. Not only the local school system, but also the other programs and services that are in your local area. It may be the daycare down the street or the Head Start around the corner. Whatever it is, you need to be totally familiar with those particular places that you're going to be sending your child. Also, it means understanding the information people share with you and being willing and able to share information that you have about your child with others. Thank you so much for being with us during this portion of this presentation.